Good. All right, good evening and welcome to the Sunbury, Ohio City Council meeting. It is March 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? And I did want to ask that you keep the friends and good family members of Bill Fling in your thoughts and prayers in this moment of silence. Thank you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Joe St. John.
Here.
Damon Capel.
Here.
Tim Goes.
Here.
Murray Neff.
Here.
John Grumney.
Here.
David Martin.
Here.
Cindy Cooper. Here. 7 present.
Real quick, noticeable improvement on the audio quality. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. We did have a meeting on February 16th of 2022. Do I have a motion for approval? Motion. Motion by Dave Martin. Second. Second by Damon Capel. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to point out 2 very minor typos. Under Mr. Ghost's section for the finance committee, it says pursed in there and it should probably should be pursued. And also, and this is so small that I know y'all are just gonna make fun of me, but in our names, it between myself and Damon, it has and then between Murray and John, it has and. So I think we can take, okay. We can take out the one between Damon and I, get a little closer.
I will get it fixed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
The administration has accepted the changes.
With a smile on her face.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
David Martin.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Murray Neff.
Yes.
John Grumney.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
7 days.
Right. We're on the visitors section of the meeting. We have a few visitors here tonight, potentially 4. I do need to make a quick change to the agenda, and we're going to kick it off, and I'll explain why in a moment. We're thankful to have members of the Delaware County Sheriff's Office drone program here this evening. I want to say thanks to Chief Howard and Deputy Chief Wade for coordinating this. We've been working on this for a few months. Glad to have the drone back in action and allowing you to come and share this with us tonight. So if you want to come up, introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about the program, and then we are going to get, this is going to be a kind of a 2-part, potentially 3-part overview with an introduction, an actual demonstration, and then to answer any questions. But as the Sheriff's Office is transporting this outside, running the demo, we're going to be able to fill in the gap with some of our other visitors. So the floor is yours.
All right, I'm Alex Richardson. I'm a deputy with the Sheriff's Office.
Deputy Greg Boggs.
Obviously, we're both pilots with our drone program. We've brought our 2 different drones with us this evening. The bigger drone that you see here is the Matrice. The big difference between the 2, obviously, is going to be quality that you're going to see and the ability what they can fly in. We've got about a 40-minute flight time on the big drone in optimal conditions and about 28 to 30 minutes on the smaller drone. Both are equipped with thermal cameras, both have the capability to have spotlights. The camera on this device also has a zoom. It's a 200x zoom. They're essentially the same thing. They fly on the same platform. They have the ability to stream, which you guys will see later. But like I said, you're going to see a huge difference in quality between the 2 we're talking about. The camera on the large drone is more than the entire small drone camera.
Right.
How long does it take to recharge them, or do you have extra batteries that you swap out?
We're currently running with 8 sets. The large drone takes 2 batteries at a time to operate. So we currently are operating with 8 sets. And we can pretty much maintain a continuous flight. We have obviously only have to switch batteries, but We've got that down to science to speed the process.
We've had pretty good success by the time we got through the rotation and they charged back up.
Right, yeah,
It
okay.
depends on how our power source is. If we're hooked up to, a good power source at a building or something, they seem to charge better. Unfortunately, we're hooked up to our generator or command bus out in the field. We don't have. quite-
Slower, yeah.
It takes a little bit longer. Okay. So.
So these are both DGI, kind of like the consumer version, but this is not only commercial use. The Matrice, I've seen it's not just law enforcement capability, but I mean, construction firms, natural resource
Yeah.
refinement, like it's a large scale use. I mean, very industrial, top of the line drone.
Yeah, that's more of the, I guess you would say your industrial use drone. This, they make other versions of this that, most of us own on our own, outside of work. So these are very affordable when you take away the things like the thermal and whatnot to your everyday, and they're the exact same drone.
Yeah, the big difference with ours versus the retail version is the controller is a little bit more sophisticated. So if any of you are familiar with flying for recreation, usually use your phone as a screen. So these are smart controllers.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more expensive. So.
And the large drone requires 2 people to fly.
Okay. And what type of certification do you need to be, is this FAA certified? I know the regulation is kind of catching up to the technology.
There's 2 different routes that you can go. You can go with the COA, which under that, basically you get permission to break the rules in a certain area when I say break the rules, there's the laws that are set in place that their everyday person has to abide by. You get a variance to be allowed to get by some of those laws that maybe fly in restricted airspace or fly at an altitude higher or lower than, where somebody else can fly. With the 107, which is it's individual license that at that point in time, which we fly under, you could still request those waivers. We've got a waiver to fly above the restrictions. We can fly in fly zones with clearance. We've gotten waivers to fly within inside of Port Columbus's airspace on operations and things like that, where everybody else can't generally fly.
Right.
Did you have a pilot license before you had a drone?
No.
Okay,
No, we all got certified once we got the program established.
okay.
We decided which route that the sheriff's office was going to go. We were kind of torn back and forth, which was the better route to go. You'll see a lot of agencies now from the guys that I talked to that even if they're flying under a COA, they are also getting their 107 license through the FAA as well, just to cover the bases there.
Are you allowed to outfit it, the large one with any kind of weaponry?
Our policy says no. You technically, yes, you could. Don't know what the reasoning behind such would be. So I don't want to necessarily say never, but.
It's primarily reconnaissance, surveillance, information,
Right.
you know,
You can
give it in
use
your
it for searching for either a missing person,
Right.
Collecting evidence. When we had the body that was located at Alma Creek, there was the chain of custody of trying to maintain constant, while they were moving from point A to point B out in the water. Obviously, that's a little bit more difficult to advise on something, so we were able to utilize the drone for that kind of operation.
They're really good too, especially for like a city like Sunbury where, you have a 4th of July fireworks and you have a bunch of people here, they're great to put up in the air and, your police department can see all over the square, all over town if there's any issues, so.
Is that the monitor that's sitting on top of the box?
Yeah, so this is one of the 2 controllers that we use to operate the drone.
Oh,
This is a single controller that operates this. So they're essentially the same thing. The only difference between the 2, this is outfitted with a device that we can actually extend the battery life on it.
so when you have yours in that, are you seeing the drone or are you seeing what it's seeing?
So there's 2 different cameras on the large drone. There's a camera here on the front, which is your first person view. And then this is the camera that it will move. Generally, when we're flying, the person who is operating the controls, that's actually flying the aircraft, is gonna mostly stay on the first person view because you always know where the forward is. That camera can rotate 360 degrees underneath. So if we're not communicating and he's operating the camera and he's looking backwards and I was watching that camera, I might think that I'm going one direction and I'm going the other direction. So there's a lot of communication between the two of us, but I can switch back and forth on my controls between both cameras, the map, wherever I need to do.
So is that then recording what the drone is seeing?
We can, we don't record everything.
What about sound? What about sound? Can you record sound?
No audio recording. It's not with our setup. I don't know if there's something out there that has the capability to. We don't have any need for it. The big thing that we're doing is, like I said, searching for someone, collecting evidence as far as, crash pictures. We've done a couple crashes for OSP. Like you said, with the fireworks, we did a detail with Westerville for their fireworks last year. That was good in multiple aspects. We were able to not only help with monitoring traffic before and after, but we were able to monitor the crowds during. We had some issues out in the crowd. We were able to pinpoint where they were coming from and guide people into them. So,
What kind of range does the unit have from where you're standing with your controller?
if we were flying from in here, not very far. But outside, we've tested it a few times. What, 3,000-4,000 feet easy.
Yeah, I mean, you're essentially going to be able to see everything in this area.
Yeah. We fly, we've got an area in the city that we fly from occasionally, and we can pretty much cover everything inside Delaware City.
Wow, that's
So you're saying basically like just going straight up and it's got a strong enough lens.
Well, that beyond the zoom, but being able to also fly out.
Right.
We can't reach it with our zoom from where we take off from. We can move to just about any vantage point that we would need to be able to cover the entire city.
Right.
And there are capabilities of this one. They do offer a tether. So
Yeah.
how far was like 300 feet?
Yeah, it's like 370 feet or
So
something.
it can essentially just stay up there forever because it's hardwired in.
Yeah.
So some of the municipalities will use that, you could launch it here and just let it sit up there.
Yeah. A good example would be when you guys have the sizzle and sound. You've got a large crowd. You want to be able to monitor the crowd from, a command post and be able to keep an eye on everything that's going on. You could launch with a tether. You could launch that thing from over at the police department and sit up there and stay in a hover position the entire day and evening and be able to monitor the crowd 24/7 and watch everything you need to. The downside to the tether is if you would need to move to another vantage point, you have to come down, land, unhook, restart, and go.
wow. Battery operated, right? How long does it take to charge it?
I don't know if we've actually ever timed it. We can, like I said, with our 8 batteries, we can maintain a pretty much constant rotation between our batteries that never had any downtime. We had 4 before and we were really close and we just got 4 more, so.
We will have an opportunity to ask more questions after the demo. Are there any other questions before the demo? All right, we'll let you guys get set up. Thank you very much for being here. Really looking forward to seeing differences between the 2 drones. We're gonna have a live link into the screens here so we can all follow along. And I'm sure that'll raise more questions when we get back. Thanks again.
Yeah.
All right, our next visitor is CEO and President of Delco Water. We have Glenn Marslow. Welcome this evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure I want to go on after.
You can follow that.
Technology is really something special. We've got the Phantom 4. Delco Water bought that, and we've got a licensed pilot on our staff. We do our elevated tank inspections. Virtually one other thing we can do, and that's what we could offer to the village if we ever interest you, but our GIS, we can update the maps, the aerial photo kind of on the fly, right? So it automatically knows where it is. So every time Bowserman puts in a new roundabout, we'll take the drone and we've got new updated maps for our oops locations and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
This technology is amazing.
It is.
Just amazing.
Over here.
Okay, you got my presentation up there. So thank you for the opportunity to address council tonight. Appreciate the chance to get on the agenda. Again, I'm Glenn Marcells, the General Manager and CEO of Delco Water. We, you don't know who we are, probably most of you do, but we're a nonprofit co-op, right? So very similar to a rural electric co-op. That's kind of was similar to the way we started back in the late 60s, early 70s. And obviously we've grown up pretty significantly now. We're one of the largest systems in the state of Ohio. We're 8th or 7th largest from population and the 2nd largest by service area. Cover over, I think it's about 850 square miles now. So even that drone you just saw probably can't cover our entire service area. Next slide. We just moved into our 8th county. We're serving a few customers in Licking County and looking to continue moving that direction as well, even before the Intel announcement. That changed things a little bit. Next slide, please. We were 2021 Best Workplace. Really excited to get that designation. And like every other best workplace in the state, we are currently recruiting. So if any of you are looking for work or you know someone recruiting for engineers and treatment operators and distribution right now, I think those 3 spots. Next slide, please. So one of the things we were able to do during the pandemic is take advantage of the fact, it was just opportune timing, right? We've always had this perception that our customers really valued our service, that we were very well received by our customers. But first time we ever hired a third party to go out there and actually do a survey. And this hit almost exactly when folks went into lockdown. So we had something like, it said 1,245 people responded out of like 4,000, right? So we had like better than a 25% response rate, which is just unheard of for this kind of survey. We're fortunate. I mean, so the response came back and kind of did indicate that we're doing the right thing for the most part. There are times we stub our toe, but over half the customers gave us a perfect 10 for overall satisfaction. But as you would expect, we found some areas we need to work on. So we'll continue to try to get better. Next slide. I feel like we missed one. Did we miss one? No. Well, maybe I deleted it. Okay. The other thing we did so fortunate timing is we rebuilt our office in Marengo. This is up in Morrow County. And we added that drive-through that opened in January of 2020. So it was just perfect timing. We were able to keep our staff and our customers safe during the pandemic. We were able to provide really, really nice office there for the staff up in that location. Next slide. Another big accomplishment. So typically I try to get back in front of council about every other year. So I was planning on coming back in about 19, 20, but I wanted to wait for this project to get finished. And lo and behold, there were some other things that delayed my return here. But we finished the expansion of our largest water treatment facility. The Olentangy plant went from 19 to 29 million gallons per day. Added a few other treatment techniques, and obviously this is for growth, along with a seasonal demand that we have in Delaware County that a lot of systems in the state don't see. A lot of lawn sprinkling, that kind of thing going on. Next slide. Another thing we're very fortunate to be able to do, take advantage of the pandemic, is our Chief Operating Officer and our Chief Engineer, Shane Clark, was able to update our master plan using our own staff. Right? Typically, we would hire a consultant, somebody like Dave's firm, to do this kind of work for us. But nobody knows our system better than us. And we went down, used the GIS manager and Shane worked together, and we looked at every single parcel on our system that was over 10 acres and tried to identify what we thought the future use would be, what the future demand would be, and based on our current customer base, so if it was going to be a multifamily in Sunbury that we think was going to be developed, we would take a look and say, what is the current multifamily in Sunbury use on a per unit basis, and kind of project that forward so we could do the best we can to model really our true demands in the future. Next slide. We also have been able to develop a financial model. So the master plan is on the system side, the engineering, the water model and this is financially. So we're able to look out 10 years, really provide a lot more inputs into what we should see in the future. Also did a capacity fee evaluation, make sure we're on task there. The city of Delaware, and some of you may be aware of this, but they're currently dealing with a lawsuit about their capacity fee for water and wastewater because of I think it's the Seattle apartments that they put out there. So that was part of the reason we did this, but we also want to check every few years and make sure we're doing it accurately. So we got a third-party expert that tells us that actually the fees we're charging are almost perfectly right on. They did say we need to increase the meter fee a little bit. We charge the current capacity fee is, I think it's $4,600 for the capacity, right? The plant capacity, the tanks and all those kind of things. And I think it's another $800 for the actual meter fee. And lo and behold, it costs more to set a meter, it costs more to buy a meter these days than it did back last time we evaluated that. But everything else was right on track. Next slide. Finished the Olentangy expansion and no time for us to rest. We've already started working on the expansion of our Ralph Scott plant. This is the one that's located at the base of Allen Creek. So we've gone to the Army Corps of Engineers and asked them for an extension of the lease. It's a leasehold we have there that expires in about 2030. So asked for both an extension and an expansion of the leasehold so we can put more plant on that same site. Next slide. And City of Columbus is currently, they've accelerated the timeline for their 4th water treatment plant. And now in hindsight, when I actually developed the slide deck originally, I didn't know what the catalyst was for that, but we know it's Intel now, right? So what they've done is they're building this 4th plant, and that's going to be able to take more water down into the main part of Columbus, and they can free up some capacity from the Hapkermine plant, which is the one that's located south of Hoover, which ultimately serves New Albany in that region over there. So we're working with, Columbus, it's their project and everything, but they're allowing us to participate with them. We're going to build some capacity in this plant as part of their project. And for those of you who don't know where that is at the corner of Home Road and Dublin Road in Concord Township, at the old girls' prison site there. So we've got 8 new elevated tanks showing on this master plan that are fairly eminent. Some of them we would have built yesterday if we had the ground for them. Some of them are several years out, along with $130 million in distribution improvements over the next 20 years. Next slide. The board recently approved a new building on our campus, a distribution and engineering complex. These 2 departments are still in one of the original structures that Delco built in the early 70s. So obviously gets a new office space there. We're also going to create some significant efficiencies. We kind of base this on Concord Township and a couple of the other fire departments around here. Right now, the way we do things in the winter months is we have to uncouple the trailer, store that in one conditioned garage, and then we park the truck somewhere else. But this has got a full pull through. In fact, we can get almost 2 vehicles, I think, in one of those bays. So we're able to be much more efficient, particularly in the winter months with how we deploy our vehicles. Next slide. Regular partners with regional sewer, with economic development, the EMA, our school districts, our fire departments. We really put a special emphasis this year to try and do a better job communicating with that service group. We were able to reduce the number of complaints from our customers by about 75%. So one of the things we did, the fire chiefs asked for some additional signage that we could purchase for them that they could deploy in neighborhoods when they go out to flush the hydrants. It's important for all the fire departments to be able to get their hands on the hydrants. They want to know that it works and what kind of flow they would expect and how it operates, which we understand, and we're all for that. But this allows them to really do a better job informing the neighborhood that something's going on. So if they do have any water quality issues, they understand it's resultant of this activity rather than something else in the system. Next slide. Other partnerships, we work regularly with the Foundation, the Alpha Group, familiar with them. They do our janitorial, and they have done our mowing for many years. They're going to stop that service, so we're having to procure new lawn management. People in need, we're working with them, actually kind of expanding an affordability program with them. We like to let the experts do what they do, and we like to focus on water. So people in need are able to triage, whether a customer has a bona fide issue or not. And based on that, they'll figure out whether they should be entitled to any kind of assistance. Stratford Ecological Center and a couple other things there. And then we're working with one neighborhood on sewer bills. Something we think it's in the best interest ultimately for our customers to write one check instead of two. And also obviously we're already mailing a bill or emailing a bill depending on how folks are signed up. So it's something we might be of service to the city. I'm gonna get this right, to the city at some point if that interests you. Obviously we've got a pretty significant platform for receiving payments, and we're able to receive them. It's pretty effective, cost effective, the programs we run. And I think that might be it. Certainly can take any questions or anything you have, but I'm sure you want to get onto that drone as quickly as possible. Clear the podium and let's get onto the good stuff.
I have a question. Do you allow educational tours at the water treatment facilities?
We're just starting that up again. We've kind of, for obvious reasons, we've been pretty hesitant, but we've got a couple universities, Otterbeins coming through, and Ohio State coming through here in the next few months. So if that's something that interests you, I'll leave my card. If that's a card, yeah, I got some here, so I'll leave that, and we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
I was just going to say, congratulations on your survey. I know, especially when you look at government entities and public entities, sometimes the survey results aren't always the greatest because people just rank you up to a government and you might give you a negative review just because of that, but and good response rate too. What's your biggest customer complaint that you have on that comes in on the?
It's our biggest customer complaint. Boy, that's a good question, and most of them don't make it to me. I got a really good staff.
It gets to you, it's a really big complaint.
I regularly hear we got this terribly upset customer, but they are worn out. By the time they get to me, they're sweet as pie.
Yeah.
So we've had some challenges, So we have 4-week billing cycles regularly. We bill 12 times a year, right? But occasionally there's a 5-week billing cycle. And we added this conservation tier back in 2016. We know it's important to our customers to sprinkle their lawns, and that's fine, but we want them to be efficient with their water use, right? So this thing is designed on a traditional neighborhood lot, right? Quarter acre, a little bit bigger than that, quarter acre lot, watering 4 times a month, 1 inch per event. So it didn't rain the entire month, and they should not be in that conservation tier at all. And we hear a lot of complaints that it was a 5-week billing cycle, and now I've got an extra $10 on my bill because I went into the conservation tier. I hear that. What else do we have? That's a chronic complaint. One of the biggest pain points is leaks, and we do have probably one of the most liberal leak adjustment programs in the industry. We have a $100 deductible, right? So if you have a big leak, you got to pay your regular bill. So what you paid last year, or the average of your last few months' bills, $100, and then we write off 90% of the remainder of it. And these leaks can get devastating, right? We see leaks, $8,000 for 1 month if it really gets out of control. Oh my goodness! So yeah, it can get painful pretty quickly, right? So we might write off $6,500 of that $8,000 in that particular case.
Or my daughters are taking a shower.
Yeah.
$12,000.
So I told you about our chief deputy, Shane Clark. He's an engineer, and engineers come up with these things, right? But he used to run down and he'd just turn the crank on the hot water heater once in a while when the kids were in there for a while, and just the fact that they know that could be coming, right, and reduce that shower time pretty significantly.
Deterrence. Good strategy.
Thank you.
I would like to ask that as your distribution plan investments for Sunbury mature, or if you have those, please communicate those to us so we can take that into account as we're working on our street program, so that we've got those kind of coordinated, and we're not fixing a street that in a year is going to get a new water line or something like that.
Understood. Steve, I'm going to leave you my card. Dave can tell you I've been meeting with the village manager back in the old days here for years, trying to just do some coordination, and it'd be our pleasure to do that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and Mr. Wolf and I communicate on a regular basis, especially, excuse me, especially early in the year, just as we're getting ready to put our CIPs out and making sure that there's no overlap. That's going to be painful.
Yeah, we do our best to communicate with you. So we'll continue to work with the CT staff, and I'll leave my card with you today. And I welcome you to send me an email or give me a call, and I'll meet you for coffee.
Okay.
A couple times a year.
I know one, as an attorney, a private attorney, in addition to being the city attorney, one of the frustrations I hear are the folks out on the end of the township road, and they can't get Delco and they'd like to have it. Is there anything that those residents can do? And sometimes I know it's frustrated by maybe the inability to secure an easement from a neighbor. I'm sure it's a factor of, how many homes are down that road and how far you have to go. Can you shed any light? And I never know what to tell them. I never know what really the process is, or if there's anything they can do to affect the process, as getting neighbors together, whatever.
Right. There's a process, and they can certainly affect the process. First, they need to make sure that we know that they're interested in getting the service, right? So we have that same Magic GIS I told you about. Since we've been using that actively for about the last 6-7 years. Their dot goes on a map, and anytime somebody calls up and wants service, our standard, and it just is, we don't like to just do things because that's the way we do things, but this particular case, that the metric we said is 5 customers per mile of pipe. And it's something that's in our roots. It's something we're passionate about, is taking water where it's needed. I mean, that's why we're here in this county, right? But a lot of the rest of this state, there's good enough aquifer that you can drill a well and you can be confident that you're going to have enough for your household supply, but that's just not the case here at most of Delaware County. So they need to let us know that they're interested. And certainly if they can work with their neighbors and try to get, a few customers per mile, we are always, pretty much 12 months a year, we're doing line extensions out into the more rural parts of the area to serve those that have issues. And we'll accelerate it if somebody's well goes bad. We'll do everything we can to get to them as soon as possible so that they have as small a hardship as they can have.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Marsliff. This is a great presentation. We love to have you back more often, but we understand we're on the 2-year circuit.
We'll be back in 2 years. So
all right. Sounds good.
Barring a global pandemic.
Appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Don't forget to leave the cards you were going to leave.
No, I'm not gonna leave that.
And don't forget to leave your keys.
You won't go fucking about that for sure.
And we have 2 more visitors. I think these both are going to be brief. I've teed up the first one and the second one, so this should be very quickly. We have a gentleman from the Knights of Columbus, correct? Welcome back. We're so glad you're here on time and ready to roll. We're ready to help you.
It's good to be in front of council again. Thank you so much for seeing me again. So I'm from the Knights of Columbus. That's I'm new. So some of you know me. But like I said, it's good to see you guys again. So the reason I'm here is we haven't done this for a couple of years because of obviously COVID and things are happening. So, but things are opening up now. So the Knights of Columbus, every year we sponsor something called Measure Up Campaign. And what it is the councils within the statewide, and we pick two weekends every year. They're always in April, beginning of May. And what we do is the Knights or the Brother Knights collect money for charity. The charity is it's always to help the developmentally disabled. So 100% of what we collect goes towards the charities that we're collecting for. For the most part, we've been collecting for the Shane Center, which is up there in Centerburg, but we've also given to other charities as well. And how it works is the Knights will we usually pick some businesses that will stand in front of, like we've always done some importance. They've always been great to us. Last year we did all businesses because of COVID and just because of the circumstances. So before that, back in 2020, we were not able to do it. But prior to that, for the last couple of years prior to that, we had stood on the corners. And the corners that we do are on the corner of Miller and Route 3. and the corner of Miller and 36. And we've tried to avoid the main area, but we'll stand on the corner and it's not an aggressive sell at all. We basically walk up and down the street and we have a bucket, we have the vest, everybody knows exactly what we're there for. We actually have signs that we put up along the road so people can see the signs as they're driving up, and then we're just walking, and then if they roll down their window and they've got some change or whatever the case might be, and we'll stand on that corner that's the same as Kroger or where the auto parts store is, then the other side, which is Wendy's and McDonald's, and then the other side, which is where Ace is and that area. And we'll just have a bucket. If they roll down the window, we'll give them just a ruler that explains what we do. And if they have kids, we'll give them some candy. And then they just put the change in the bucket. So we don't walk up to anybody if they don't have their window down, they don't have a handout, we're not walking up to the car. So we always try to have at least 2 people on the corner. So for safety purposes, and like I said, we do have the fluorescent vests. So we're very visible, and safety is #1 priority.
What are the dates?
So the dates are Friday, April 29th. Then we'll be there from 5 to 7 to 8-ish. And then Saturday morning, starting about 7 to 8, and then we'll go to about noon or 1 o'clock.
Thank you for requesting this. I know we've approved this in the past. We weren't able to, I think, due to, I'll say, a technicality. The last time this came in, I think there was strong council support to approve this. We always want to enable, folks to give back. And are there any questions before I make a motion?
Are they kids or adults that are doing it?
It's always adults.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, sorry. And
We actually have an ordinance on for it. It's a charitable solicitation permit. And to be honest, I'll be perfectly clear. I don't know that we even knew we had a charitable solicitation permit requirement. I think probably 10 years ago, if you'd have done this, you just did it. You got permission from Dave or the mayor or whoever, and they were not. But we do have, and it's good we have it. Maybe somebody's trying to do something like this that tries to use kids, or they're being aggressive, or they're, obviously not the case here, but there is a charitable solicitation permit required, and you have an ordinance on there tonight. I did ask Mike to come just to, again, and he's already spoken with the chief about it, making sure that all the safety concerns, but we do have an ordinance.
That came about after a youth sport league had little kids running up and down in the street, running from car to car, asking people for money. And it came to the attention of council, and that's when that took place. I remember it very well. So,
and last year, I think you came forward, but it was just too late. I mean, we didn't have time. You came forward, and it was like that weekend that we didn't have an ordinance.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So you just went ahead and did the Tim Hortons only. We said, make sure you come back plenty of time this year, which they are. You've got the ordinance on there tonight, and he's here to answer questions.
apologize for jumping the order of operations. I'll wait until this comes in normal business. I guess you got my commitment that we're going to make at least a motion. I think you got council support that this is going to pass. We'll call you if we need you to come back.
You can do it while he's standing right there.
I could, but we have to suspend the rules of emergency, and we've got one more visitor I really want to get to, and we've got the police out in the cold right now.
They're waiting on us.
Yeah, I'll tell them you told them they can wait, but we're going to pass this, okay? I'm committing to it. Thank you.
Anything else? You guys say nothing.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last visitor, I think is going to be very brief. This is an introduction only. It's our newest health district representative and liaison. Would you come up and introduce yourself? I don't think she's going to have any material to cover. We've got some handouts that she handed to Kathy. She'll pass that around. No pressure. The floor is yours.
Yes, hi, my name is Simran. I'm with the health department. I work for the food unit, so also AKA health inspector. So I have an area, a brief area in Sunbury, Powell, cover those areas. There's 6 of us total that cover the entire county of Delaware. So this is my first time, super brief. Just wanted to introduce myself, that way you know that there's some random person in the corner, that's me. But I will try to attend these meetings, and if guys do it on the first month.
Yeah, first Wednesday, first and third Wednesday, you're welcome anytime. Don't feel obligated unless you're required by your job to be here.
I really wanted to come.
Come on.
Yeah.
We can sign off on your on your sheet if you need to.
Have a sheet, it's just like, oh.
Sorry, I was joking.
But yeah, so if you have any like questions about public health or environmental health, you can reach out to me. And then I do have 2 emails that were provided, and I will try to reach out to you with any brochures or anything like that. Yeah.
Questions?
I was just saying, like 30 seconds, can you just describe what it is that you do then in those areas?
What I do?
Yeah.
So health department, specifically, I go into facilities and I check and make sure that they follow food code, the temperatures, equipment, is it commercial equipment, backflow. Obviously, the main things, like they have their safe certifications, or pilot card, just like all those thermometers, hand washing, good practices, they have hair nets, things like that. And then we also do mobiles, we also do temporaries. I also do pools. So I do pool inspections as well, and those are starting back up for Delaware. So it's going to be 3 times that they're going to be happening. So yeah, so we do pools, we check for the pH, we check for alkalinity, we check for chlorine and all those things. And usually the only reason pools usually get shut down, well, it's more voluntarily at this point, we kind of put it back on the operator. If they have low chlorine or we can't see like the pool, like it's not visible, those types of things. But usually it's very rare that we shut down facilities. Usually that's something that they do on their own. It's not something that we personally do. We try to work with all our facilities, all our operators. We understand that it's super hard to, run a business and kind of run it consistently, like all the time. Things happen. Unfortunately for health inspectors, we get like a 6th sense or something. Every time we come in, something's happening. So it's like, oh, we get to go back. So yeah, that's what I do. I will be training on campgrounds and school inspections soon, so that will be started back up too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I do know one thing to be careful of village-wise that's been a problem for us are grease traps. When they don't keep those things clean, it gets in the sewer, and we have some shared lines in town, and then all of a sudden you have things backing up in locations that are not even contributing to the problem. So we've been involved in those, and those are tough things. So as much as it's, something that they don't necessarily want to, it's not they don't want to do it. Maybe they aren't as diligent about it, but that's something to keep an eye on. And wherever there's fried food or any of that. Yeah.
Smell of grease traps, oh gosh, yeah. That does not come up. Yeah. No. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you in maybe a month or so. Thank you. All right. I think we're on to the drone demo. Deputy Chief Wade, I think the floor is yours and the folks outside. And I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Are we sharing the screen so the Zoom folks can watch this as well?
There in a second.
Okay. We're getting ready.
Where'd it go?
You just have to do desktop or your screen. Just, nope. Just hit the screen.
Yeah, right.
Nope. Fine, do it that way. We're good. Ready to roll.
So this is the matrice. You'll see one of the things that's going to stand out between the two. I'll demo the matrice first.
Is that the big one or the small one?
That's the big one.
Okay.
That is the larger of the two.
Oh my goodness.
Going up.
Mm-hmm.
The other with the matrice is the stability. This camera system. So just a quick background. At the sheriff's office, I retired from the sheriff's office in 2019. I was afforded the opportunity to start this drone program and work with the pilots that were selected. It was interesting. There's thermal. Interesting venture. It took about a year to get it up and going and get everybody selected, the pilots trained, and now it's up and going fairly well. I can touch base at some point if you have any questions on the deployments and what the necessity is for this and how it helps, but some of it is self-explanatory, as you can see. When you're seeing going black and white like that, it's the camera's iris going back and forth. That wasn't thermal, that was actually the camera's iris itself, because of the ambient light is taken between black and white color. So now you're looking over at the current parking lot, and he is at 137 feet.
That's an HD picture, correct?
You give it a second, actually, I mean, in the daytime, you can actually read the tags on vehicles miles away.
Where is the drone now that is able to take that picture?
Very low.
Right above us.
Wow.
Mhm.
He's taking that picture out there from right above here.
Yes, that camera you see hanging from the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Is doing the video, and then it's through the internet, basically.
And that little box, he's controlling that camera.
Is communicating and it's live streaming out. So what you're
gotta
looking
be
at,
kidding
like, if
me.
we have a bigger situation that takes place, our command and control structure is gonna get this live information fed to either your fire department, your law enforcement, your EMS personnel. If you have a mass casualty situation or a crash, I worked in Morrow County, we had an airplane that landed on 71, and for those of you who remember that, that was a mass casualty situation. There's thermal.
Thermal, yeah.
Now you can see the thermal.
Is that 126 meters or feet at the altitude? Feet? Okay.
He's at 124 feet above the ground.
So is the drone lighted? Is it lit right now? Does it have something on it?
Yeah, they have IR strobes, we can, well, yes, it could be ran stealth, or you can, it's got IR strobes on it as well.
So it's not
You
required.
just turn
It's
on
not
the
required.
light. There's the LED right there. That's how bright it is.
Spotlight.
You can probably see that.
Feet above the ground, lighting up
Oh,
outside.
come on.
Is he on the square?
Yes.
Not required to be lit, is it? Over here?
We're probably messing with people in Sunbury right now.
I think something's going on. Oh, no.
See the light on the cars. Right here.
Oh, there we are.
He just turned it off. You can see the light over top of the car.
It's right up there.
Yeah, that's it. You can look at us in the window. Let me look down here in the window.
So, for instance, okay, hold it. So you can, yeah, go back to thermal. So for instance, if we have a situation now, you can see like which cars are suspect cars, which one just pulled in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You see the heat on the car.
That's
You know, and then you see the individuals talking there on the side of the street.
You're not you see my imprint on the glass? Yeah. I really like it. My warm hands on the glass.
Unfortunately, it reflects on the glass. So thermography actually reflects on the glass. So.
Is the,
Go ahead and go back to regular and see if you can get a little altitude, maybe out towards the interstate, and maybe
what type of wind can that thing fly?
see if you can get out towards the interstate.
Yesterday, when we did the run through of this, they were in like 15-mile-per-hour wind, and it tells you it's high wind. The camera doesn't move. I mean, it's compensated digitally or something. It doesn't shake.
Isn't that view smoother than that one?
Yeah, I almost think this is our internet.
Yeah, I just wanted
It's
to
the
because
glitch, not their cameras. Because yesterday there was no glitch.
Yeah, it's the internet. It's normally it's pretty much seamless.
okay.
How far can we fly out?
So these devices actually, Alex, you just kind of try to see. So now you can see the skids on the bottom of the actual,
Yeah.
and that gives you kind of a perspective
How high?
of where it's actually hovering.
Yeah. Ooh, that's hardly moving.
Oh, my.
I'll let you go ahead and see what you can work with towards the interstate. I'll call you back as it looks, and then we can switch over to the other one. I'm gonna jump off here quick. So the matrice itself, there's actually two controllers, so you could actually, we do not operate, the sheriff's office does not operate, any of the pilots do not operate beyond the line of sight. You might have a spotter that's watching what's going on, because easily you can get disoriented as a pilot on which direction you're going, what's ahead of you, what's not. But in theory, under a COA, certificate of authorization, you can actually go through handoff. So that device is equipped to do a handoff from one controller to another controller. So some of these are capable of, and that matrice could almost get 9 miles where you could actually hand off.
And do you have the capability to do that?
With this one, it's not, I mean, it would be,
It'd be an exigent circumstance for us to do that. Because of the line of sight, safety is the number one thing we lose. And they're all autonomous, so if there's an issue where the battery goes low, or there's some kind of malfunction on the inside, so the little black box is the software that records every move and stroke at the pilot, as well as everything they're doing at this time.
Wow.
So if anything happens, we can go back and recreate what took place. It's autonomous set, so if there's an issue, it will come back at exactly where it took off. It will come back to 200 feet over, clearing any aerial areas, and then come directly down to where it took off from.
That Denny's?
Yeah, that's the interstate. That's there's
But where?
pixelation.
It's like flying jet. Yeah.
Wow. Pixelation is mostly the internet, because I'm assuring you on his, it's pretty clear. You can, in the daytime, on a good clear day, you can go up above Delaware City and look out at the river. Catch traffic coming down 36, 37. The only obstruction would be trees and whatnot.
What's the limit for recreational use, your
400
altitude?
foot, nothing over 400 drones.
You can go to 400 feet for recreational use without a license, without a permit.
Under 400 feet.
Wow.
The recreation license, so the 107, part 107 is actually part of the fixed wing process. When this started, when the drones really started, way back when, you had to have a fixed wing that actually fly.
Take pictures.
Well, that's back when everybody was thinking that the drone was going to be like a predator drone flying over the top of us, and not something that society's now become to understand is a very beneficial tool. So it's the 107 is a section of fixed wing license, like airspace, understanding wind, altitude, that kind of stuff is what that is. It's pretty much what these pilots go through. Plus they go through training, in-house training, and then again, the majority of it's autonomous. You can see when the internet connection catches how good the video is. Just to give you an idea, like a car crash, being able to go up and record this 3-dimensional.
Anybody home?
So for obvious things,
Wow.
some of the not so obvious is if you've got issues on the roof, it wants to climb on top of town hall.
Is that right?
Put the ladder up or get the lift and go up and then have to go back up again because you forgot something. Well, you just recorded everything up there.
How are the two working together
As far as the two, it depends.
right now? Like,
Simultaneously, they don't have the Mavic 2 up right now. So they'll put it back, put the matrice down and bring the Mavic 2 up. They will operate independent of each other and can work in the same airspace. When you start streaming and you try to stream 2 of those at the same time, it can be difficult. So you have 2 separate stream lines, video stream lines for them. So like for active shooters, you would have a situation like in schools, the larger drone, it's not going to be able to get in there. Basically on the size of it and all the infrared stuff, you have to shut everything down and have to have a large operating area. The smaller drone, you can utilize, you can shut down the autonomous stuff because if it flies, if it's flying with something close, it has an infrared system that keeps it away from getting into and carrying up stuff for itself. So it automatically go around. So doorways are hard to go through, shut that stuff down and basically fly it through in those scenarios.
Share, get the other one. Okay, we're gonna get the other one.
Okay. We have that, we have the tree stream down. So the average would know. Okay. Okay, that's trees down.
Keep going. That should be right there.
Yeah. Or you want to put more in there? Okay. Gotcha.
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about like safety share.
All right, so this is the Mavic 2 Pro. As you can see, the thermal camera, not as high quality, still has the thermal, little shakier system, but would serve its purpose.
One thing they didn't show will this one track the vehicle as well, or?
No, this one will not. The Matrice, you can actually, so, like, when I flew in the helicopters, if you had somebody on in a pursuit or we were out in the field doing stuff, you actually have a gimbal lock on your target that would actually track for you on cameras. You wonder how the cameras, the helicopters always have perfect video. Those are locks. The Matrice itself is set up to lock a vehicle to be able to follow. If we have a bank robbery suspect and they're following out, and then they can get out and we can lock on the person, and the camera will automatically follow that target.
We did that yesterday during the demo. So if you know where the sheriff's office is, that's where they're going up. Went from pivoting to zooming in the Delaware City Town Hall, which is like, I want to say 4 or 5 miles away, laser. And then pivoting to Route 37, which is not close, and targeting a vehicle that's driving on Route 37. And even as trees are going in front, what's that?
From the interstate.
Yeah. And as trees are kind of coming across, it'll lose contact, and then it's kind of like finding it again. It's like vehicle locked.
So it takes roughly 3 to 5 minutes to get the Matrice up, pre-flight, get it up in the air. This you could have in the passenger seat of your cruiser and deploy it within 30 seconds to a minute, depending on what you're assessing the situation. Obviously, weather. The larger platform is a little more stable in weather and crosswinds and can fly in somewhat light rain. This one is stable, surprisingly stable.
Speed radar.
Do they have do either of these have speed radar on them?
No.
No, okay, good to know.
That's so funny. Is there, like a group of officers or whatever that, are certified in this?
Yeah, no way. There you are. I see.
Oh, that's so funny. Hey, Joe. Look at that mayor. Oh, my God. That's great.
So that's an example, though. That's an example of a barricade situation. That's an example. So there is actual, like, when you have a barricade situation or you have a situation where hostages or wherever there's information, intel needs to come out immediately. And we always think of tactical stuff. These are de-escalation tools. These are de-escalation tools in that we can, because we escalate on the unknown, we have to prepare for the unknown. If it becomes known, we can then prepare and de-escalate the situation, if that makes sense. And in 2022, that's a huge, that helps us tremendously to utilize our assets and resources where they're most needed. And that's a good example of how that's helped a lot in several occasions. What was your question?
In the Delaware County Sheriff's Department, is there like a squad or a crew that use the drones primarily, or can anyone in the Delaware Sheriff's Department get certified, or how does that work for those?
So the Sheriff's Office posted a position for any pilots that were interested, or the law enforcement was interested. They submitted their interest, and then they had to go in front of the board and show, their conduct as an officer. There's a lot of things that was looked at in the selection process. And then from there, then they went through their 107 training, as well as in-service training. And then we were becoming part of it, or the Sheriff's Office was becoming part of it at the time with DPLE, which is a law enforcement executive committee, which is Westerville, Dublin, Delaware City, Delaware County, Powell, all of which majority have a drone program. So it's now sharing tools. And then we would do trainings like sponsored by Dublin. We would go there for 4 to 8 hours, usually 4, because 8 hours of this, it's battery operated, so it's downtime. So 4, maybe 6 hours, and we run scenarios. Dublin would host one, Westerville would host one. I know there towards the end, before I left the Sheriff's Office, we were going to host one with school. We were able to utilize it around the school in a situation that we might have, and we could imagine what we have in there. So
there's ongoing training with this too.
Yes, ongoing training where they will continue to train with it.
I had an opportunity to talk to the deputies. From what I heard, they have 4 teams. Is that right? You know,
There's 4, when I left, it was 4 pilots. IT, Hackbarth, Boggs, Richardson, and Jenkins. Detective Jenkins, the 2 deputies, and an IT person.
Okay.
Were the 4. So then they have a supervisor or something now, which is Sergeant Slum. And the Captain Vance interfaces with it as well. But that's, and the goal as I was leaving was to try to get to at least 10 pilots. And the reason is you have the tool, increase the number of pilots. So the pilots you have, then you can operate and utilize the tool. It's no different than one being in a car and driving a car. It's the tool. So, and again, I mentioned, situations, lost people, elderly child, fleeing suspect, accidents, major scenes, crowd control. In the city, keeping track of your housing developments and how things are progressing in the community. To, if you think about it, if you have a wind turbine or anything that had a bearing that was going out, it's going to create heat and friction. You can use the thermal to read that problem. You can just imagination is a limitation where you can utilize the roadside view. So.
What's a potential first step? I mean, there's like the entry level, and then there's the matrice, which is $35,000 or something. I mean, there's, and I'm just throwing out numbers, but it's a big jump from kind of entry level to.
So Magnitude Pro is about your entry level for commercial use. The good thing is because of the acceptance in society, the demand, their prices are starting to balance and fluctuate to where it's affordable. You're looking at the entrance level of the Mavic 2 Pro, which is these 2 are DJI products, and there's a lot of different ones that are US based as well. Around $4,500 to $5,000 is your entrance into this. And then you're looking in the Matrice RTK 300, right around 20, 25,000, give or take, depending on the type of camera. Your equipment is where that starts coming. The drone itself is around $9,000 or $10,000, but then you got to start adding, just like the Mavic 2 is around $1,200 or $1,300. But you have to buy batteries. You have to buy the equipment that supports
the camera on that thing. Is like a $10,000.
$10,000 for the Zenus 20 T that's on that Matrice is about $10,000.
Right.
So.
How reliable and how long will the matrice last?
So the prior one was the 210, the Matrice 210, and it was Westworld still uses theirs, so they've had it in service for about 5 years. The smaller ones, they're still operating to this day. I mean, it's a technology the technology that advances on these is the video streaming, the cameras, the tools that go with them. But the basic autonomous flights. So when these come, they come programmed where they can't go into the fly zones. So they're already pre-programmed. We have to submit to FAA and ask for permission to utilize in no-fly zones over the jail, over hospitals, that type of stuff. So they have to deprogram it from an allow to go into that space.
Yeah.
But that's the 2 different platforms. Entry level would be the Mavic, it's around 5,000. The Matrice RTK is somewhere in the 20 range, depending on your equipment. Any other questions on it?
That was good.
Great stuff.
Great
Super
overview.
interesting.
You might want to get like a daytime video stream or SD recording or something that we could probably share. I don't know that the stream tonight did it justice compared to what I saw yesterday. I mean, it was crystal clear at 5 miles, and
you're only limited. You're only limited by your visibility, just like flying.
Right. And while we're waiting on the deputies to come back up, I wanted to hit on just something else that you guys have been looking at for the past 6 months. I've had a chance to talk to some of you about it, and that is looking at a UTV. So with our expansion of trails and different events, on the square, just there's areas of our town that are inaccessible, admittedly at certain times of the year, like parades, festivals. Those are the big ones, but we're also expanding our trails quite a bit. And I think it's important that we have the ability to service regardless of what environment is going on around us. Fire department has one. I think it's pretty common practice for police departments to have one. Off-road trails. Other times where roads are shut down. So that's. Do you have any more information on where you're at, or do you?
I was going to share some of the
all over for like the players because they had a state bid. We thought that was just gonna be the best way to go.
You want to come up to the microphone? Nobody can see you talking. I'm sorry.
I like that one there.
There we go.
Yeah, we were looking at the players. They had a state bid and we thought that was gonna be the cheapest route to go, but when we started doing a lot of checking, the Boss Brothers right here in town had the UTV that would work for us, meet our needs. And just to throw you some prices out there. We checked with John Deere because Deere was cheaper than the Polaris. And they have one that's outfitted for police, fire, EMS. And when they give you the price on that, I about had a heart attack. It was $51,000.
What the hell?
I can buy a cruiser outfit for that.
You could get a pretty beefy Polaris for like 15 grand.
Polaris is coming in now about, let me find it here. It was around 19.5.
I thought they were closer to 25 or so.
I'm sorry, it is. It's 25.5 right now.
These are all gas operated. None of these are electrified yet.
Yes, on gas. The one that Voss has out here, it's roughly 17.5, and that's with cab, heat, removable doors.
Oh, that's enclosed. It's got a cab too.
Can be, but you can also remove them, and then there's a light package that's probably what, additional 5.
We checked with Bart, because our cruisers, they were looking at about 35.
Okay, so we're under 25,000.
Yes, it was right at 20 for everything.
We really need to have something like that for the trail access.
Yeah.
There's an accident on the trail. How we're gonna get to them.
There's also some other groups that want to donate to this. I get requests often, you guys probably do too, that, hey, we have a group that wants to donate to something tangible in the police department, not, hey, we want to donate and buy pens or badges or something like that. Like they want to say, we want to put our name like behind it, like we help support. And I'll just throw out a couple, like the Eagles or, the VFW, those folks are interested in, they always do money raising situations.
We can name it the Eagle.
They're not for branding rights. I think they're doing for more like, we support the community. Put their logo on the side.
Eagle One, yeah, Eagle One.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
We've been approached several times by some of those groups.
Right.
Saying, hey, do you find any yet? We want to help you.
Yeah. Eagle Force One.
That's a big walnut eagle.
Oh, there you go. Big one of these, but great, that's awesome. I'm sure we'll have more questions about that, but great overview tonight. Thanks for coordinating all this. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Sir, you're back up?
We're back.
Listen, I had to stand up there. She did okay.
Great job. Sorry to keep you out in the cold for so long.
You guys are fine. As you guys saw, there's a little bit of a clarity issue. That's because of the live stream. We've run into that multiple times. It depends on where we are in the county.
Right.
But you're recording it as you go
Yes.
perfectly, right? And
Well,
the recording would be.
even on our end, it's blurry. It's with the live stream. When we're hardwired into our command bus, or we're not live streaming, crystal clear. It's 1080p. It's something with the live stream. It's not just us. Other agencies have the same issue. Part of it is when we get into populated areas, you've got how many homes with
Wi-Fi, yeah,
All of them.
microwave, LTE, everything.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest issues that we run into. If we don't live stream, we don't have that problem. The only time
If you weren't live streaming, what would you be doing?
it would just be us.
Okay.
The live stream link is only pushed out when we push it out.
Okay.
So if it's just us viewing it, like we're searching for somebody.
Right.
When we work with our tactical unit, generally we try to live stream. Because the point of us being with them is so that the command staff and command bus can see actively what's going on and make real-time decisions.
Right.
Yeah, we were even picking up, the controller was even showing us an alert that it was getting some interference.
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's.
Too many controllers nearby or something.
One is we had 2 drones set up down there.
Sure.
So we disconnected one, so that helped. But, I mean, like I said, we've got how many houses that Wi-Fi signals are all getting here.
Right.
It's gonna happen. You get into more populated areas, we have problems. We've had a couple areas where we've been and we had no issues at all. Then we've had areas where you get closer to residences and it's in neighborhoods and whatnot, you're like, we gotta turn this off. You can't see the fly.
Right.
Let alone, it's not doing you
It's
guys.
not helpful.
So it's better, it's more beneficial sometimes. But we can't always look into the command bus.
I asked DC Wade, he may have already shared this with you. If you guys could maybe do a daylight, just where you can record it on an SD card or however the best way to get like a clear recording is, we can upload it onto our OneDrive. No rush on that at all. But I think to show the capability, Zoom capability, even if you went up for like a 10-minute pre-planned routine, 5-minute pre-planned routine, we know that video is probably going to be huge if it's recording at 1080p. So whatever's practical and functional. I want to show council members the clarity because yesterday I was really impressed during the the early morning hours.
Yeah. So the other issue we're running into is we have 3 video feeds from the big drone that are feeding the ones.
Right.
Because you have the zoom camera, the wide angle camera, and they're all simultaneously recording.
Right.
So it's trying to pump all 3 of those signals, even though I may only be showing one on my screen at that time, it's trying to pump all 3. So that's another issue. It's just comes with the territory. It's technology until technology catches up with technology, it's always going to be an issue.
You guys can probably see the zoom in just on the Kroger.
Oh, yeah.
That was incredible.
Unreal.
The only interference, I mean, when we're not live streaming, we could read license plates of it. The only time that you really can't is you get heat coming off the ground in the summertime. Sometimes it gets a little blurry, but I mean, we've pushed that zoom to its extent a couple times and you see everything.
Right.
It's amazing to me. So I got a little bit of camera gear when I go out to 600, just any shake it, and yet you've got it, man, and it's just, it's not.
It's the gimbal. I mean, the gimbals that they're on, they're designed that you'll see sometimes when it's flying, you can tell if the wind's blowing. You can see it kind of, and generally the camera's staying straight, but you can see the rotors coming in and out of the picture. And it's just that thing, trying to maintain its position. They're GPS, so if we stop it somewhere, it stays there.
Yeah.
We've had, what were we at up on the freeway, 25, 30 mile an hour winds, up off of 71, recording a crime scene, and we were no problem. You could tell, the battery life goes down because it's struggling trying to maintain its position, but it stays where it's supposed to stay.
And it can take a 1080p picture.
Yeah.
So still shot at any point.
They can take video. They actually have 3D mapping software where we program in a route. Let's say we had a plane crash and we wanted to cover that whole entire area. I can set it up so it will fly by itself and it'll take a picture every so many feet. And then you put that into the mapping software and it'll put all those pictures together and give you a 3-dimensional map.
Yeah. Excellent. I would like to understand the cost a little bit more. We don't have to cover that tonight, but I would like DC Wade and Chief Howard to work with you guys to hopefully get more of I'll say a spreadsheet view of what would it cost for an upfront investment. What are some costs that we wouldn't, incur right away, but maybe, is there insurance costs and things like that we need to think about?
Insurance, and then the big cost that would be repetitive. The batteries.
Right.
The batteries have life. And as we all know, with technology, in 2 years, there's going to be, if not even sooner, there's going to be something bigger and better. And that's going to be outdated. And you're going to want to keep progression with that.
Right.
Because you can see the clarity difference between those 2.
Right.
So the 300, that was new when we. I want to say that was the newest model
It was about a year old
when we first
started doing research on the 210. I was explaining to him earlier that Western Hills 210 is actually still being utilized.
Yeah, we still use it. We use it regularly with them. Generally, if we get called out on something, my first phone call is generally the city in Westerville. We like to have multiple teams on site We learned unfortunately on a call where we didn't have multiple teams on site, and in the time that we were off target is when chaos happened. And that we really quickly learned that you have to have multiple drones from one team, or you have to have multiple teams on site.
So before we get a lot of calls on certain things, one thing I just wanted to add real quick. Society definitely doesn't like Big Brother, and I get it. We're all part of it, right? So if this device is flying over a certain area, if we have a desired target of acquisition, unless it's an exigent circumstance, so this camera is governed under the Fourth Amendment, just like any camera we would have with our feet on the ground. If there's exigent circumstances, immediate risk of life or imminent risk of danger, along with the preservation of evidence or something that would reach that level, that Fourth Amendment still applies. So if you have a privacy fence up and we're trying to look over your privacy fence, we better have exigent circumstances or a certain want to do so. So it still applies and it's still followed strictly. So this is everybody aware.
Like as you said to the recording before, we don't always record. If there's not a need to record, we don't record for multiple reasons. One, it's a privacy issue. Two, it's a lot of video to store. The drone will only allow up to 56 that it allows, and it's the biggest card. That fills up fast when you have 3 video feeds all recorded in high definition. So really limited what we actually do recording. We're searching with DTU for looking for a suspect unless we have a good idea or something. Like once we get a target, we're going to record from that on out. But we're just scouring an area. If we don't see it at that point in time, it's not right.
Gotcha. I'd like to also know about the grant programs available with this. I'm sure that you guys probably have a list of programs that we could tap into. So it's been very helpful. Are there other questions for our friends here?
I just want to say thank you.
And supportive of other things as well.
Prosecutor?
Yeah, the county prosecutor.
Dave Breen, you heard that. Their legal counsel supports them.
We felt that it's a two-way street, while we're conducting an investigation, they're the ones in the end that are prosecuting it. So if we can collect that evidence and assist them in their prosecution, it's something that benefits both sides.
I like it. That's icing on the cake right there. Good deal. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fly low and go slow on the way home.
All right, we're on the committee reports. Tim goes.
Yes, we'll give you the Cliff Notes version here for the sake of time. We did just earlier this evening have the Park and Rec meeting. We had one major visitor, Jackie Haight with Source Point, and she distributed her survey. I'll pass that down to you so you can take a look at it. One item of note that affects the parks would be with the park benches. They're working with Preservation Parks about outfitting, retrofitting all existing park benches with handrails. So Steve and Kathy are going to work on getting that done here, mapping out, getting an inventory, hopefully at some point. Maybe Darrell will be involved with that. All of our benches so we can work with them and get that done for us too. J.R. Smith Park updates. Steve advised he's got another appointment set up. Hopefully in the next 30 days we'll have the security work done down there, and he's working on getting the auction set up for the bleachers, the goal posts, the lights, and the posts. So that'll be with Chip Carpenter.
And the scoreboard.
That's right. He's going to check with the schools first, see if they have any interest in any of that, any of the equipment. Mr. Parkinson gave us an update on the phase 2 repair of the trail, Fallen Heroes Trail. Hopefully within a week or so, we'll have some final grading work done there that'll help alleviate the flooding issue. So we'll keep an eye on that. And Big Walnut Day of Service is May the 6th. And working with Mr. Gerberg on getting a list of things to do, probably some tree planting, mulching, and potentially if I can get with Scott Weatherby, maybe we'll get Mr. Weatherby's, the late Len Weatherby's tree up on that day as well. Reservoir, more work being done on what we're going to do there, looking at fishing pier types, and Mr. Parkinson and Steve are working on that.
And we might loop Source Point in for that Big Walnut Service Day.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we're going to reach out to Jackie and see if she might be interested in helping. Okay.
Good deal. Thank you. Mr. Grumney.
No, I'll defer.
All right, Mr. Capel.
We had a services committee meeting tonight, a very full and productive one. One of the things that we talked about was setting aside the budget to do a annual sweeping, striping, and sealing program. I just made up that terminology on the fly there, but Steve said that he'd estimate a starting cost of about $75,000, and we'll get a little more accurate numbers on that updated as we go. But we thought that was a good idea to help kind of defray some of the costs of the streets program going forward, especially since we haven't had the best of luck with the OPWC funding. We also talked about the 2022 street program. We're budgeting this year for about 380 actual costs. We're going to focus on Kintner Road, South Columbus repairs, and then we discussed focusing more on repair of the brick streets as opposed to trying to focus on another one or two smaller paved roads, mostly for the high traffic nature where the location is, basically talking right out here around the square as opposed to some of the more remote roads. Then we also, Mayor brought up sewer mapping and capacity analysis, showed us a little bit of what the county's layout is on the auditor's website, and we kind of want to look into something similar to help us map our sewers for prospective development purposes.
How about park benches too?
Yeah.
Could you do that? Could you add that?
Apparently.
Is that possible?
What somebody had mentioned park benches. Was it Mr. Parkinson, I think?
We can GIS map park.
GIS map park benches.
2 inches.
Just briefly,
We could use that drone to map our park bench.
yes, I mean, that's what, Mr. Marza mentioned that they use that drone for there. So once you have a base GIS, you can just build on it for any layer of anything you want. Park benches, street signs, street lights.
Trees?
Trees, yes, you can, it's just a layer, a layer, a layer, a layer. It's a beautiful thing.
Cool.
And then we reviewed briefly Roadbotics, which is an AI-based pavement evaluation system, which sounds great and not at all like Skynet, so that's good. And then we asked for some updates on the Miller Drive flooding situation. Come back later with some potential remediation for that. So that was basically it.
It's a great update. No zoning meeting this week. Mrs. Cooper.
There was no zoning meeting this week, so I don't have a report for that. I did attend the BZA. They had their first meeting, so I attended that. Mr. Piles wrote about that in his administrator report, but it was really great to meet everybody. I think it's going to be a great group. Lots of legal help, lots of staff help going into that. So just thank you to everyone who's working on that project.
I don't have any committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Mr. Neff. All right, we are on to, do you have anything else to cover?
No, sir.
All right, you guys did a great job. Thanks again. A lot of work. You guys have had a long day. I know that. Thank you. Administrator report, Mr. Piles.
The report was uploaded earlier in the week. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. One item that wasn't on it was earlier this week. Preservation Parks has a great idea. They've got another section of trail that they anticipate completion on. And they want to have kind of a northern Ohio to Erie trail celebration. Get the communities along the trail involved, have a couple activities, connection into downtown restaurants, things like that. Right now, it's tentatively scheduled for the 25th of June. And we'll be working with them on media stuff, promotion, and also we're entertaining the idea of having an evening movie night that night that would be a bike-centric type of movie. And hopefully Nancy unfortunately isn't here. I need to talk to her about it too.
Excellent.
Do you have any new employees that you want to introduce tonight?
Well, I think he's introduced himself to most of you, but Darrell is.
Well, we're talking about the community members at large.
Introduce him to the community.
Oh, that's true.
All those folks.
Front and center, Mr. Hennessey.
Get in the camera in the picture, Mr. Hennessey.
Very good point.
You need to see it.
I think I've been on camera quite a bit because you've been focused on Good to be here. I'm Darrell Hennessey. I'm the assistant administrator. Started on Monday.
Been to a few meetings.
I've been to a few meetings. So looking forward to working, with council, and certainly looking forward to working with staff to see what we can do to, advance Sunbury, make it, I think, the greatest place to live in America.
That's right.
The greatest place to live in America.
Yeah.
It is. That's right.
That's
Welcome aboard.
good to be here.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So glad to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Piles, anything additional?
No, if there's any questions, I'll try to field them.
All right,
Otherwise,
sounds good.
we can move on.
Thank you, sir. We're on to the engineer's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I too uploaded my report on Monday morning. Just 3 things we're currently working on for the city. We're wrapping up the Fallen Heroes design for phases 3 and 4. We expect to be here in 2 weeks with a request to advertise for bids. We will, of course, upload the draft final plans to the OneDrive for your review prior to that consideration. We are continuing to work on the hazard mitigation grant program pre-application round 2. For you, it's due, I believe, March 25th. So there's no urgency or hurry on that. But we will be, we're preparing a pre-application to do a study on Prairie Run to see if we can find affordable ways to mitigate flooding along the creek. Mr. Piles was good enough to provide us with a series of photos. If you have not seen them, you might want to, or maybe you've seen Prairie Run in all its full glory last week when it was all but flooding the whole town. But those are great pictures to have to include in our application. And actually, they'll be helpful when we actually get to the study part to help us understand truly the height of the water as it goes from here to there. And as was mentioned, there was a lot of good direction tonight on the 2022 SRE program, and we'll be going full steam ahead tomorrow morning toward putting that package together for you. And with that, I'll try to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Parkinson? Great update. Thank you very much. Mr. Parkinson, how many more meetings will you be with us, sir?
Are you having a meeting on the 30th?
We will for you.
No.
Very special meeting on the 30th.
You're getting a haircut that night.
So one more, is that right? Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Cake at the next one for sure. Yeah. All right, we are on to resolutions. We have no third readings, no second readings, and no first readings. We're on to ordinances. Ordinance number 2021.49 will remain tabled. Second reading ordinance number 2022.09, ordinance accepting a petition for annexation of territory consisting of 2.903 plus or minus acres located in Berkshire Township, Delaware County, owned by Roman Ellie and Hughes Building Company, the Inn at Walnut Trail Limited, in the state of Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Are we ready to take action? Is it required we take action?
not required to take action. If you want to have your final reading, you certainly can.
I'm going to use the restroom while Tim reads this next ordinance.
Oh,
I'll be right back. Mind taking it?
Sure, that's fine.
Thanks.
I might need my glasses.
What a cop out. Wait a minute.
We're moving on to the second reading for ordinance number 2022.10, an ordinance approving amendments to the City of Sunbury zoning code, including revisions, including updates to reflect city status, building height calculation, revising certain zoning definitions, removing fee references, revising zoning certificate submittal requirements, adding BZA references, requiring engineering plans and electronic versions with certain submittals, multi-use trail provisions and requirements to rezone to planned district from various multifamily districts, multifamily apartment revisions related to bedroom sizing, building design and parking, C3 conditional use amendments, eliminating certain structure height exemptions, floodplain revisions, open space contiguity and say that for me, Dave. Contiguity and calculation revisions, playing field drainage, tree preservation amendments, certain building materials amendments, roof slope amendments for mechanicals and contractor work hours, and modifying the recommendation of the Sunbury Planning and Zoning Commission, also to include amendments related to tree replacement and declaring an emergency.
You do have a slightly revised version in front of you tonight. There should be, number one, I think, they get a red line of the whole thing, a link to it. So you've got a red line of the whole code. That's Exhibit A. Those are the changes that came out of the Planning and Zoning Commission. But again, this whole process is about a 5-month process. In between the Planning and Zoning Commission and bringing things forward, we found a couple other things. That's the Exhibit B. The Exhibit B last time contained tree replacement changes that Planning and Zoning Commission hadn't had the chance to talk about, but we figured them, we recognized them, we said we definitely want them. And you've got the ability to do that. You've got the ability to modify their recommendation and add those additional things. It just takes a supermajority vote. So that was what was on your Exhibit B last meeting. Between last meeting and this meeting, we had our first BZA meeting, as Council Person Cooper referenced on Monday. When we were getting ready for that, we had materials for them. We're working hard to enable them. We've got a BZA handbook that Steve has spent a lot of time on, and we've reviewed from legal counsel. We also got some BZA rules for them drafted. They now have those. But in that process, we found that there was a reference to a BZA review standards for a use variance versus, or an area variance versus a use variance, and we needed to add a few words. So those words are added, they're redlined. Those are the red lines on your Exhibit B tonight. So just so you know, it's a little different than what you had 2 weeks ago. Second reading, you have the third reading in 2 weeks.
Quick question. So it references it as being for 2021. When all the changes in this is actually passed, will it actually be 2022, or does it still revert back to 2021?
Introduced in 21.
It was introduced in 21, but we can.
I just didn't know.
I think we've got it titled the revised zoning ordinance of 22. And the ordinance number is 22. Where's the 21?
I just noticed in the actual document itself.
In the ordinance itself, or the document?
It actually it references like this document is created 2021, or I don't know the exact language. I don't have it right here in front of me, but
we'll give a look for that and make sure that it should be 2022. The title that Steve's got in front of him now is revised zoning ordinance of 2022. But we'll look for that, and if there's any we want it to say 22 because that's when it's passed.
Yeah. Okay.
Agree. If there's something in there we need to fix, we'll do a find and search for 2021. Okay.
And so obviously no need to move this forward tonight.
No, just second reading only.
Okay. We will move on to the first reading for ordinance number 2022.11. And that is an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to issue a charitable solicitation permit pursuant to Sunbury Codified Ordinance 371.06 and declaring an emergency.
This would be the Knights of Columbus charitable solution. Mike Bruning was here earlier. You do need to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Neff to suspend the rules. Discussion. Kathy?
David Martin,
Yes.
Murray Neff,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
John Grumney,
Yes.
Joe St. John stepped away, Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Camp.
Yes.
6 yeas.
Motion on the emergency. Second.
Motion on the emergency by Mr. Martin, a second by Mr. Neff. Any discussion? Go ahead, Kathy.
David Martin,
Yes.
Murray Neff,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
John Grumney,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on ordinance 2022.11. Second.
Motion on the ordinance by Mr. Martin and a second by Mr. Neff. Any further discussion?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to just note if we could post that on our Facebook page before that happens to get the communication out to our residents that they'll be out.
Will do. Kathy, roll call.
David Martin,
Yes.
Murray Neff,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
John Grumney,
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
John, would you like to register a vote on the suspension of the rules?
Yes, I would like to vote yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2022.12, Mr. Mayor.
Right, an ordinance accepting the public improvements to various Sunbury Meadow sections and declaring an emergency.
We got this on, we just started talking about this on Monday. When subdivisions are built, there are public improvements, sidewalks, sewer, streets, light posts, all of those type of things. When they're platted, which allows them to sell an individual lot because it has a lot number on a plat at the recorder's office, we do not accept the public improvements at that time. They're not all the way where we need them to be a lot of times. At this point, all of these sections have been built, they've been platted, and we're ready to accept the public improvements and ask to do this. At that point, it becomes our asset. The street becomes ours, the light poles become ours, we own it. There's a maintenance surety for a year maintenance surety that the developer posts. But this would accept the public improvements in all these sections. We weren't able to hook up today, Dave and I. There's not going to be an emergency on this, so you don't have to declare the emergency tonight. This will be a first reading only, and I'm going to clean up the language on that between now and next meeting. But that's what this does. It accepts those, and those public improvements become ours.
Great. I missed, do we need to take action? I apologize.
No, not the first reading on that.
Thank you. All right, we're on to new and unfinished business. We have the fireworks contract for a dollar amount of,
$12,000. And what Civic is asking for is a monetary contribution of half of it.
okay. It's got 5,000 in the past.
Yeah, it's
Right.
consistent with what we did last year, right?
Yeah.
50%.
6,000.
All right, we're going to get a 20% more intense display.
More intense or longer? Or both?
Well, hopefully more intense. All right, sounds good. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, we got a second by Mrs. Cindy Cooper. Discussion? Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
David Martin,
Yes.
John Grumney,
Yes.
Murray Neff,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
We have a
And
perk.
I apologize. I glanced down, making a note about revising that last ordinance. The motion was to
They're gonna pay half.
it's for an expenditure of money. We're not executing the fireworks contract. That's going to be executed by Civic. They have a specific, there's insurance and all that goes with it. I just want to make sure the motion was to approve the expenditure, this says fireworks contract. We're not signing that contract.
Yeah, I may have said, I don't know what I said.
You said $6,000.
Okay.
Just wanted the record reflect, it's a motion to
Yeah.
expend $6,000
Right.
towards fireworks. That event is being conducted by the Civic. So
Right.
they're
Yes.
signing the contract.
Yeah.
Think about if you had to run your house like this, where kids, what I actually clarified was fold the laundry and put it in the drawers. Would you please clarify and repeat that?
Motion to suspend.
All right. We have a purchase order number 35485, Reinhardt Walters Danner, property insurance premium $49,180.
That is on the back of your packet. That is the renewal of your property and casualty insurance. It has gone up from $44,848 to $47,840 even. But we have added property, 59 South Columbus through 75 South Columbus, 220 Western Star equipment, and the bucket truck and the gator.
That's excellent.
So, and our credit actually has gone up because we have ceased doing the smaller claims for all the light poles because they are terribly expensive. That we've determined that it's best if we don't turn it into insurance and just eat it or go out.
If it's damaged, we buy it.
Because the ding.
Yes, it means a lot.
Yeah.
Agree. Good work. Who was the mastermind behind all this?
Oh, I like this stuff. I can do this stuff because it's behind the scenes stuff.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by David Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Murray Neff,
Yes.
John Grumney.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. David Martin.
Yes.
7 days.
Delaware Professional Services Agreement, January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, $245 per contested case prosecuted.
This is our annual approval of engaging the Delaware City Prosecutor's Office to process our cases that are, for whatever reason, actually tried, handled in Delaware Municipal Court. We have a mayor's court here. When we write things under our local codes and it's within the jurisdiction of the mayor's court, many times they get sent here. But if it's a state code violation or for whatever reason we don't have jurisdiction under mayor's court, domestic abuses, you don't have jurisdiction under mayor's court, second time illness, only the eyes. There are certain things we just can't have here. We have to send them over there. We pay them $245 per contested case, meaning the person doesn't plead at the initial appearance. They don't plead guilty. They don't plead guilty at the initial case. If they plead no contest or they plead not guilty, it becomes a contested case. Then it has to be dealt with beyond that initial appearance. We pay them to provide prosecutorial services, $245 per those cases. And it's an annual thing we do every year. Definitely very cost effective. There's just no way you can hire a private attorney to handle a criminal case for $245.
How many of those do we typically have in a year? I mean, just
Chief, do you know what our total expense was? It seems, Kathy, do you know what it is?
that's a
40.
curiosity question. Certainly don't need.
I'm thinking maybe more than that. Maybe more than 20.
Yeah, I would say you're closer to 50 or 75-ish.
That's what I'm thinking.
You also got to keep in mind, any of those cases that go to municipal court, if the judge would say, hey, you get 10 days in jail, we don't pay that. Where if Mr. Green puts me in jail, then that costs us the jail. So that kind of trades off.
Just for clarification, we don't put them in jail. We request they be put in jail.
Always clarifying.
Disclaimer.
Raise your right hand.
On the record. I'll make that motion.
All right, we got a motion by Cindy Cooper.
Second.
Second by, I think it was David Capel. Oh, John Grumney.
Yeah.
Got a second by John Grumney, one of our newest council members. Discussion? Roll call.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
John Grumney.
Yes.
David Martin.
Yes.
Murray Neff.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 days.
All right, we're on to new and unfinished business. I'm going to start over here with Mr. Murray.
Nothing.
All right, Mr. Martin.
Not tonight.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
What's up?
I just wanted to share with my fellow council members that there's going to be some upcoming training for new council members.
Ooh, yeah.
So there's two. There's the Ohio Municipal League, which is going to be on, I believe, March 12th. And Mr. Grumney, Mr. Neff, and I are all going to attend that. And there's a second one that the Ohio Municipal League is just like a one-day thing. There's a more intense, fairly time-consuming additional training. It's through Governing Essentials for Local Elected Officials. I want to say it's like 5 or 6 days. 2 of them are in person, the rest are virtual. And Mr. Neff and I are both going to attend that. So we're all 3 really looking forward to learning more and getting.
Absolutely. I'm interested to hear how that goes.
Yeah.
If you guys can report back after each session, we want to learn too.
Directly to you.
There's like an economic development, how to talk to people, don't take candy from strangers session. I want all this.
Got it, dude.
Cool. That's great. Thank you. Anything else?
Not tonight.
All right, Mr. Kaplan.
No business here.
Mr. Grumney.
I may be incorrect in my memory, but were we gonna have Brian D'Amico come here and talk about?
He's gonna be here at our next meeting,
next one.
unless you guys approve, well, I've got a 1 bullet point. It's kind of like a counter offer. Or a point of, they addressed a couple things. Do you want me to go into that now? Or
No, you don't know. That's fine. I couldn't remember if it was tonight or.
It's our next meeting if he's needed. Okay, we'll see if he's needed. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, Mr. Goes.
Nothing other than, well, tomorrow morning we had Mr. Mayor and I have a breakfast with Chauncey with the library. Just want to keep extending the conversation on collaborating with him and the library potentially, and see what we can do with his green space and helping them with their master plan and how we can get ourselves involved in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be good stuff.
Mhm.
All right, I'm gonna start with Sizzle and Sound. So I reached out to Teresa Dronsfeld, Cindy Ernst, Brian D'Amico. He couldn't make it to this meeting. If we need him to come to the next meeting. One thing I said was around, one of the concerns was around re-entry. You know, when would that be cut off? If we were to grant approval until 11:30. Civic has committed to no re-entry beyond 11 p.m. regardless. They will shut the gates. And then also 11 p.m. under no exception of extending that past 11 p.m. I know that's gone later than 11 p.m. historically. So those are
What, can you clarify? You just said, I didn't hear what the second part was that you said.
no new people coming into the beer garden at 11 p.m.
Okay,
Gates shut. No alcohol sales.
okay, I missed the alcohol
11
part.
p.m.
Okay,
beyond.
so shutting both of those off at 11.
Music until 11:30. That's
And how is that different from last year then?
the difference from last year.
Official
is-
difference.
Officially, what we approved is all things close down at 11. What happened is we still allow people to come in until basically the music, ending. It extended until probably 11:30. So we had alcohol sales, people coming in the gates until 11:30, and the music went to 11:30. The plan was 11. It got extended to 11:30.
But the
Now we have
music
100.
actually got extended to midnight.
Does that? Can we?
I was there at
anybody else
11:25
confirm that.
They were wrapping up
I
the
never heard
music.
that.
They were wrapping up the music, I thought, around 11:25, 11:30. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think.
I'm
it
just
was
curious,
midnight.
and I don't mean to like start to open a can of worms or anything, but I know that Sizzle has gotten bigger every year. So I was just curious, have we considered using maybe Freedom Park or another location? I was with my kids at J.R. Smith and my son was actually like, we should do Sizzle here because it's so open. And I was like, well, there's no parking. And then he's like, there's no parking on the square. And I was like, you're right. Arguing with my 12-year-old is just, I always will give in. He's usually right. So I was just curious, like, if we have considered that, because I feel like there might be some potential with we've been discussing just like with the gates, like everything is so compacted and you can't see who's coming in and who's leaving. And I just feel like if we had a bigger footprint, we could do so much more.
Yeah, we have considered that. I think we should consider it again. Always looking for ways to improve. The biggest issues with a place like Freedom Park and especially J.R. Smith or anywhere that's not public, you end up with ingress and egress issues or insurance liability. Those were the 2 biggest things. So J.R. Smith, it's almost like, yeah, it'd be a great location if there was more than one way out. And you think if like a situation happens, where's everybody going to go?
Freedom Park is very dark too.
Yeah, free park, not
It's
lit.
much more well lit around here.
When you have power issues too.
Power, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Traffic in and out. And that little hills, the slope there on the, when you pull out.
We looked at private sites too, Tim. You know, we're in discussions, Kathy last year, police. It gets a little bit tricky in that situation. I mean, insurance liability, you know, who's responsible for what. I agree, it's not perfect. I think we need to figure out a way to make it safer and more convenient. Let's have the events committee have its inaugural meeting and start discussing this.
There you go.
Sound good?
We knew that sucker would start up eventually, huh?
You just
Well,
ask.
that sounds good.
Ask for more work and you shall
It's,
receive.
it's nothing that has to be done this August, but I wanted to know if those talks were out there and I wasn't aware of them. So it sounds like, yes.
Yeah, there were. I'm probably in more of the camp that, you know, let's not try to fix something that's not broken. I mean, it's broken, but it's not.
I feel like it's busting.
It's busting. It is busting, but it's
How does
also
this
really
sound?
tough to do something new.
How's the civic association feel about it?
We've always looked at going different places, but we do get into the problem with, you know, it's not our property, it's not public property, so we get liability issues. Freedom Park.
Your premium will skyrocket
is-
too.
Yeah, yeah, the premium
I can
would
tell you.
skyrocket. We've got to make money.
Yeah.
I mean, we just haven't been able to see the right fit.
What about Sunbury Meadows and the HOA shut down the entire neighborhood?
My backyard would be fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
What about
So we're-
like GRE and those fields out there?
I think these are all great ideas. Every time you're mentioning a site, I keep on like coming up with 20 reasons why it would not work, but I'm not like the right person for this. I think people should be solution focused like yourself. Kathy's always solution focused.
From a safety perspective, chief, how do you feel about where it is currently? Is it that bad? You think it's broken?
If it stays the way it is and doesn't keep growing, I mean, we deal with it. It's not ideal.
Yeah, it's gonna keep growing.
But you're familiar with it. I mean, you're familiar with the territory and how it functions.
I mean, it doesn't matter where you have it. We bring in 10 people.
Mhm.
We got, 3,000 people in there drinking beer. Now this year, I mean, I see it being an issue if we shut down the beer garden at 11 o'clock and you start that band blasting. You're gonna have people trying to buy beer, you're gonna have people want fence. It's
Oh, that's a good point.
Crusade, we should extend it.
I don't know what the answer is.
Or shorten the whole thing.
But I can tell you this, you get somebody out there that's, had 6 or 8 beers who's wanting to dance and do his thing and drink beer. You shut down the beer garden, but you let the band continue to play. I just think you have people trying to break that rule, and that's gonna cause problems.
I think it's a good point. I'd say we subpoena Brian D'Amico for our next meeting.
Yeah.
What was
So
his
they do it at
position
sporting
again?
events. They shut beer sales down at halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we just have to make a plan for that, right? Have security and make it very well known in our media, Facebook media and all that here's the plan, folks. And then we just a hard stop and we have security and we help the volunteers so that they don't feel like all that is on them. Like we get them out, we shut the taps down and
all alcohol sales done at, we
Yeah.
put signs up and
Yes.
so people know when they walk in.
Pretty typical for big events to cut off liquor early. And I think people largely be.
Right.
we'll have a contingency plan in place for how we're gonna deal with that shut off.
Do they know what the attendance was in the beer garden last year compared to the prior years?
15.
It's based on beer sales. They do some
It
wacky
didn't
math.
seem, it still to me, when I'm in there, does not seem that crowded. I mean, not like, some of the concerts you see where people are just jammed. I mean, it's not like that. People they're socializing. Some of them aren't even paying attention to the band, frankly. I mean, it's not usually the type where everybody's crushing forward to,
I'm gonna say Sizzle we brought extra people in for security last year. And that made all the difference.
That's big.
Just the presence was great.
Yes.
Mhm. Difference
Instead
maker.
of having 2 people walking around with that tent.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it makes you look-
And they were labeled
You had people talking.
very well.
It worked out perfect.
Will they be available this year, the Morrow County guys again?
Oh, I'm sure. Delaware.
Got to pay them.
You can have anything you want. if you pay 'em.
Special duty.
The more
Right,
beer
Chief?
you sell, the more officers you get. That is the equation.
Mhm.
Okay, remind me
Penalties, don't you?
Yes, it is.
what D'Amico's, who he is again. I know the
He's
name.
the guy who organizes all the music. He's the
Okay.
DJ.
He's the MC.
Yeah, the MC.
Okay.
On the state.
Okay.
Guy who says, we got a Chevy Silverado blocking Firehouse Tavern.
I got keys. Yeah, found a set of keys.
But he's good. He lines up. He's pretty connected in the music industry. I say we have him. Maybe we'll invite Cindy as well.
Mhm.
Probably put him in the visitor section, get him right up front and center.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Grumney. I wanted to hit on just a couple other things. One, I'm really happy and hopefully this good deed doesn't go punished. I just want to say. I had a really good meeting today with the regional director of Take 5. Take 5 is the new car wash that's going to open.
Yeah.
It's going to be the first prototype in all of Central Ohio where they have the oil changing station and the car wash and all that. We have the oil changing station coming, right? We've approved that.
No,
Okay, why are they calling it Take 5 then?
we don't know. We were wanting them to come forward and get that. We had communications with them about doing that, but they never came forward about that. part.
Give it a delay.
Maybe I misinterpreted what their business model was. Let's not go down that path right now. Did we fix their signing, by the way? Are they getting? Okay, great. Here's the good news. I was able to negotiate, and hopefully I didn't break any laws. Free car washes forever for our police department. Come on. You know how much money that is? Let's go. Forever. And I'm working on the streets department as well. I'm trying. The police department is a little bit easier, so. But yeah, I figured the applause would still be going for that one.
This is the new place they're building over there now.
Yes, sir. They're opening the first week of April.
Oh, okay.
And we're gonna have a ribbon cutting, and if you didn't know, new council members have to go to their first ribbon cutting once they've been nominated. So,
I drove by, I was over at,
Lifetime car wash?
yes.
we'll be there. I drove by there today and they were working real hard. It was beautiful out, sunny out. They were working real hard
They
getting
had a
that.
pit crew out there too,
ready.
like practicing oil changes. I don't know what they're doing. All right. The other thing I wanted to hit on, this is on a serious topic. There's a guy named Danny Sherman. He's a local gentleman. I think you may have met him. He's a local dad, just a normal guy about my age, coaches kids. He's actually one of the best youth coaches in the area. He, along with Whitney Hogue, who's the director of baseball operations for youth sports. She's also a school counselor at GRE. And Kim Castiglione, who's the PRE principal. The three of them are creating an event. It's called Raising Leaders. And it's really about how do you use sports as a conduit to raise leaders in the community? And they're putting together, I'll call it a symposium that's going to happen at PRE. We're having some of our initial kickoffs. So Jill Love, myself, Angie Hamburg, the three that I just mentioned, Joey Thomas, I would say we're the steering committee and we're working this out, but they're going to have folks like Craig Krenzel and athletes like that kind of speak at this event. I don't believe there's going to be any charge or anything, but it's really about how we get parents to understand how kids learn through sports and how, it's okay to fail. We want more participation, and when kids do fail, how they fail forward. It's very motivational and it's grassroots driven, and I think it's going to be a great event. Meeting with that group initially tomorrow, but this has been in the works for the past 3 months, and really looking forward to getting more information on that, especially around social media, and love to be able to publicize that for them as well.
I'm sorry, did you say you set a date? There was a date or not?
There is a date. I think it's April 24th. Okay, if that's not a Thursday, I'll get the actual date. Tomorrow evening, I'll have a lot more information that I can pull back to this group, but really looking forward to that event.
Mayor, can I ask a question? Is there an emphasis on the coaching aspect of, so there's the kid side of learning about that, but what I have found in coaching youth sports is that a lot of times, not just the parents, but the coaches don't encourage those lessons. you're
Yeah, it's a
talking
great
about. So
point.
I don't know if there's an emphasis on the adults and what they should be absorbing and sharing.
Yeah, there's actually a component within the, bring up a perfect point because this is what it's all about. There's been some experiences, I think, by all of us where you've seen, man, my kid is not being coached the right way. Like it's just, he doesn't learn that way. She doesn't learn that way. They're being screamed at. They are not going to be pros. How do we even intercede in this situation? And they teach you like ways that not only you're kind of consoling your kids so they don't quit the sport, but also how do you address and escalate an issue like that with a coach or through the league, address things. And so it's getting the community more behind, listen, we're raising leaders. We're not raising, John Elway or Tom Brady. And
Can we get John Elway and Tom Brady?
We could.
Reached out to Baker Mayfield.
We may
For a small fee.
Baker Mayfield.
Probably free.
True. But yeah, we're really excited about it. I will get the agenda. I actually have it somewhere, but I don't want to waste time pulling it up. There's a whole series of topics, kind of microblast topics where anybody's welcome to come. It talks about tactics, how you raise leaders by using sports.
Interesting.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. But that's
Are
it.
they,
That's all I have.
was like Brian Shelton or any of the athletic staff at the high school involved with that?
They will be, I think, through Angie being the conduit to the schools.
Okay.
They started big. With Joe Love first. No, just kidding. They came to me first. Let's be really clear. And they asked me to communicate with Joe. I said,
For Dave Briggs' record,
coffee.
they reached out to Joe St. John first.
Yes, on the record.
He put them in jail.
A Jersey barriers on Columbus Street.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes. Second by Damon Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Goes,
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Maria Neff,
Yes.
John Germany, David Martin.
Yes.
Nay.
I just want to say on the record that I am shocked